Hello guys, welcome back to my channel where I like to discuss whatever I want. And in today's video, I will be doing a little deep dive on the ethics of life coaching. Right off the bat, I just want to clarify that I am not against the industry of life coaching as a whole at all. I will be the first to admit, and maybe just a little bit embarrassed to admit, that I used to actually want to be a life coach. I think if done right, life coaching can provide a really supportive environment for an individual to work on specific goals as long as they're functioning well in most areas of their life. And I also want to quickly point out that I am definitely not the first to touch base on this coaching epidemic, if you will. I will go ahead and link all the videos that inspired me. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So according to Wikipedia, life coaching is the process of helping people identify and achieve personal goals through developing skills and attitudes that lead to self-empowerment. Life coaching generally deals with issues such as work-life balance and career changes, and often occurs outside the workplace setting. So life coaching as a whole is pretty ambiguous and can be kind of difficult to define, but from my understanding and personal experiencing, life coaching focuses mainly on creating a supportive environment and is largely about partnership and allowing the client to sort of figure out the answer for themselves while the life coach just supports them through the process. Some life coaches even build their entire practice solely based off of their life experiences of overcoming challenges. Life coaching formally emerged during the 1980s and grew in popularity throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Some of the earliest life coaches focused on life planning, but the field eventually grew to encompass other life areas, including relationships, finances, careers, health, and overall well-being. When I think back to the early 2000s, I think of life coaching mostly as motivational speaking. I picture figures like Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, and even Oprah. However, with the rise of technology, social media, entrepreneurship, and lack of formal qualification, nowadays anyone, especially with a social media following, can become a life coach and give, or even worse, sell dubious advice. And this usually comes in the format of retreats, courses, workshops, or even one-on-one sessions. Life coaching has become a billion-dollar industry worth $2.85 billion in 2021. There is an estimated 71,000 practicing life coaches worldwide, and from 2015 to 2019, there was a 33% increase in life coaches around the world. So straight away, one of my biggest problems with life coaching is the need to charge outrageous prices for services that you can otherwise find for free by just Googling it. Lifecoach.com states that most life coaches working with individuals charge about $200 to $1,000 per month for a 30 to 60 minute call 3 or 4 times a month. Executive coaches charge more and typically work with their clients for 2 hours a month. It all works out to about $100 to $300 per hour. The worst thing about some of these courses is the vague description of what they offer. So for example, they'll use a lot of buzzwords like learn how to harness your power, master your confidence, or build a meaningful brand. In my research for this video, I came across a recent CNBC Make It video titled The Truth About Life Coaches, which portrayed life coaching in a very positive light. I decided to look into some of the life coaches that this video featured, and they're all just really vague. Like, from my understanding, when you work with a life coach, and I have worked with one before, I'm going to share my personal experience toward the end, but from my understanding, you sort of get to choose what you want to work on. I think like one of the most infamous life coaches or health coaches on YouTube and social media is Alyse Parker. There is a lot I can say about her. However, there's been some great videos already dissecting like the courses that she's released, and there's been some reviews on her retreats if you're interested in like doing your own research. I will link the videos down below. I know Celestial Cow did a review of her Master Your Confidence course. Okay, so I finally found one of Alyse's course. It says, calling all growth-focused ladies, do you want to align with your higher self and courageously take action towards your dreams? Learn how to set a new standard for yourself, stay consistent with self-care, and give yourself permission to shine without falling back into old patterns. Imagine feeling completely free from the opinions and expectations of others, having true love and appreciation for yourself, even on the hard days, being capable of making big life decisions with ease and confidence, blah, 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 blah. Do you want this to be your reality? Yes, sign me up. It's only $444. So that's a great steal. And in this higher self initiation course, what's included is educational modules. So when you join Higher Self Initiation, you receive 4 weekly modules intentionally created to expand your mind and support your awakening. So I have no idea what that means. Like, I don't know how long the modules even are. The second thing that it includes is practical action steps. Learning new things does not always equal transformation. In this course, every educational module includes practical action steps, so I can appreciate action steps. Daily journal prompts. Through 30 daily journal prompts, I can literally link more than that. Journal prompts, Lavender gives out journal prompts for free. Guided meditations. It'll provide you with 3 essential meditations, and then continued access. So you can go back to all of this that you bought for $444. That's like a perk. Is that essentially you can access it again after buying it. I don't know how that's a perk, but it is. So I don't know, in my opinion, this is all literally worth $0. Like, I could get this for free. And I still don't understand the point of this course. Like, it says Higher Self Initiation. And it says that it's a 30-day course that helps you build confidence, cultivate inner peace, and connect deeper with your higher self. So I checked out one of the life coaches' websites, and whenever I go to inquire about their services, I see 4 main check marks, and it says personal and or work optimization, mindful living, debug your mental code base. I have really no idea what that means. And lastly, author the story of your life. So I'm assuming these are like the 4 things that you're supposed to learn while you're working with him. But in my opinion, these goals are far too vague and not specific enough to actually quantify or measure the progress. I do believe that there are way too many opportunists disguised as life coaches, because when you are seeking life coach services and you go to find out that they're like $4,000 to $5,000, at that point, you can just become a life coach, even though you might be in no position to actually coach someone else. And I actually say this next part out of experience. In the wellness space, there is a huge emphasis on knowing your worth and knowing your value. And you are encouraged to charge a lot, even if you are completely new to a field. I can't think of a job personally where it's fair for a beginner to be paid the same as someone who's been working there for 10 plus years. And what this has created is an inflation of prices in the wellness world. So for instance, beginner yoga teachers are charging $80 an hour for a yoga session, and experienced yoga teachers teaching the same exact thing are now charging up to $150 a session. And these people are using the same shady sales tactics that most companies are using. They're using fear of missing out. They're using the narrative that there is limited seating or limited time to sign up for these courses or workshops. They're creating this false dichotomy that if you don't spend a lot of money on a service, then it's not possible for you to hold yourself accountable. A lot of these coaches really market themselves as like the only one that you can attain this knowledge from, when in reality, it's just recycled and regurgitated knowledge. You know, like for example, how to gain confidence, or how to start a business, or how to grow your engagement, or how to set goals. These are all things that you can like learn for free. And look, as someone who has taught yoga and has been in the wellness space for about 5 years, we are trained to claim quite a lot. So there's people who claim that yoga can cure your ADHD, your depression, your chronic pain, your sciatic pain, your adrenal fatigue, your gut issues. literally anything and everything. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of people in the wellness space that promote a one-size-fits-all approach. And I think this can lead to having a very disillusioned perception of life and ourselves, especially if we're supporting rhetorics like the law of attraction and manifestation and promoting pseudoscientific practices. I think the pseudoscience element falls mostly into health coaching, but it can also show up in life coaching as well. Many wellness coaches like to implement practices with very minimal, if any, evidence suggesting that they work at all. And these include, but aren't limited to, detoxing, fasting, superfoods, or other practices like Reiki, reflexology, or past life regression, which have all been disproven. Now, I do have like a full video on detoxing and all of the buzzwords that are used in the wellness space in terms of health. If you're interested, you can watch it after this one. I will link it down below. The issue of accreditation is a controversial one. On one hand, we have people who believe that you shouldn't be defined by institutions and standardized testing systems, and on the other, we have people who really value the importance of education. I think that the subject is pretty nuanced, and I still have mixed feelings about it. I still am trying to figure out where I stand, and I'm curious where you guys stand, but I do want to sort of dissect the war on credentials when it comes to life coaching.
For Alyse Parker, her business is founded on her experience, not her training.
I can't remember a time that someone was wanting to work with me and asked if I had certain certifications or schooling and then decided not to because I didn't.
So many of my clients, one of the reasons they say that they came to me is because of the credentials and the degrees from Harvard. My clients have said that they feel that there's a level of trust and safety that's been developed by knowing that I am someone who is highly educated and highly trained in this profession.
According to the ICF, to be a basic life coach, you need to complete 60 hours of training. To be a professional life coach, you need 125 hours, and then the highest ranking, which is a master's certified coach, is 200 plus hours. According to psychologytoday.com, in 2021, there are still no carefully spelled out education, training, licensing, or supervision requirements for life coaches. No clearly enforced exclusionary barriers to entering the profession, and no enshrined legal protections to any harmed clients. So the fact of the matter is that the life coaching accreditation is made up entirely by the life coach industry itself and not by an unbiased third party. And although 2 professional coaching associations have launched a global code of ethics, it's still not an obligation for other associations to sign it. And there is no official criteria for taking a client from point A to point B. There's no way to really measure or quantify one's progress other than the life coach's feelings about whether the client, did the work. I'm not gonna lie, I think that within the life coaching community, it definitely is a more popular belief that credentials don't really matter and that experience may matter more. Now, my biggest issue with that is when it comes to mental health. What happens if you are a life coach and you're not trained to recognize or assess a mental health disorder, and you have a client come in with an untreated or an undiagnosed mental health illness, and you are just trying to treat it as if though they are not standing in their power enough, or maybe they're not raising their vibration enough in order to manifest positive things into their life, when in reality, this person might be struggling with depression, anxiety, or other mental illnesses. And really, you would have no way of knowing that because you're simply not trained for it. A lot of people like to use the stigma of mental health treatment as an argument for life coaching. But I'm finding it hard to believe that someone who is finding a hard time accessing mental health treatment or being able to afford those treatments is going to be able to afford a $600 monthly course or anything really above $100 a month, because therapy falls well under the range of $100 a month for most people with insurance. Not everyone has insurance, not everyone has access to these things. I do believe that access to mental health is a huge issue that needs to be worked on and dismantled before we can really, critique life coaching as a whole. But if given the choice and if given the option, I do think that a person should seek a professional counselor versus a life coach. And this is just for the simple fact that therapists and life coaches can treat mental health conditions. They have a degree and are licensed in a related field, and they do adhere to ethical codes, whereas life coaches cannot treat mental health conditions. They do not need any formal qualifications or academic training, and they're not required to follow health privacy laws. There's also the transformational element that comes with becoming the person that is a counselor or a therapist, psychiatrist, or psychologist. In the 10 plus years that they are going to school, they're also developing a lot of skills, emotional intelligence, and maturity and wisdom in order to become that better therapist for you. Another thing to note is that when a coach is using their experience as an anecdotal, they're trained to really market themselves. They're trained to emphasize their wins and their accomplishments, and we as a viewer, as a client, are going to admire and idolize them for this. When in reality, we don't really know what's happening behind closed doors. Medium article about life coaching, life coach Olga Reinhold states, a coach may be filled with fears, but drown in the illusion of confidence because that's what a successful coach is supposed to be. A coach may not handle his financial responsibilities at all, but perform abundant life by spending ridiculous amounts of money on his coach, fancy clothes, and an enviable lifestyle for Instagram followers. A coach may be hugely unhappy in her family life, but stay in complete denial and throw a happy couples show because coaches are supposed to have happy relationships. Before I get into the conclusion, I also want to mention my experiences with life coaching in general. My first one is that I actually wanted to be a life coach. I wanted to be a health coach. So I signed up for a 1-year course at, I will write it right here. But essentially it was $1,000, and it was a course of like basic chemistry and anatomy. And I believe halfway through the course, I just gave up because I felt like even through what I had read, if you had doubled that, I still would have absolutely no idea how to help people, especially if they were coming to me with like chronic health issues. And I feel like the course was really pushing and pressuring us to try to promote this one-size-fits-all approach. So I ended up stopping the course. I paid it off. It helped my credit, but it wasn't something that I felt comfortable pursuing in the long run ethically. And then this brings me to my second experience, which was the time that I actually saw a life coach. Essentially, this coach diagnosed me with leaky gut syndrome. Just to give you like a quick background, it's gained a lot of attention in the last years, and leaky gut syndrome is a proposed condition caused by increased intestinal permeability. From an MD standpoint, it's a very gray area, says gastroenterologist Donald Kirby. Physicians don't know enough about the gut, which is our biggest immune system organ. Leaky gut syndrome isn't a diagnosis taught in medical school. Instead, leaky gut really means that you've got a diagnosis that still needs to be made, Kirby says. So yeah, I don't really know why a health coach with no prior background in medical education diagnosed me with leaky gut syndrome, especially when it's a fake disease. I remember her giving me some fake statistic that like 86% of Americans probably have leaky gut syndrome. The worst part is that she was involved in an MLM that sold superfood powders. Of course, this was supposed to be like the cure to my leaky gut syndrome, and she really pushed their products as if though they were like the holy grail of organic superfood. Something else I completely forgot to mention is that this health coach was seeing me and other clients for a lot of chronic health issues. Mine personally was eczema. So when I did her little 7-day superfood powdered fasting cleanse, I broke out from head to toe, and I was told that this was a detox crisis, and that this was supposed to happen. My body was pushing out the toxins. In reality, I look back now, it could have very well been just an adverse effect to taking out, macros from my diet for 7 whole days straight. I would never fast again. Not only was she pretending to help people with issues from lower back pain to adrenal fatigue, but she was trying to help me, which I know it was out of good intention, but you have to know your place. Like, you have to know when You just simply can't help someone with an issue. And our skin is our biggest detoxing organ. It's very complex. So there are dermatologists for a reason, like they go to school for that for 10 plus years.
Why did all the real ones go?
Read this excerpt that I really agree with from Psychology Today. A new helping profession is a welcome development as the demand for help far exceeds the resources available. However, basic training, quality standards, client protections, and clear regulations around who can help with what cannot be ignored. Not when it comes to mental health and chronic health. A public health debate is therefore needed to help define the do's and don'ts of life coaching and better appreciate its potential and limitations. Such clarity would not only safeguard clients and patients, it would also help guarantee the healthy growth of a promising new service. And I agree with this wholeheartedly. You know, life coaching as a whole has its place in society, but it just simply needs a little bit more safeguard and regulation in order for there to be safe limitations on what life coaches can and cannot help with. And going back to what I said earlier, there is a huge stigma on mental health services and accessibility, yes. I do think that there is a level of privilege in being able to have the choice between therapy or life coaching. And so we need to think about not only ourselves as an individual, but how can we help the collective as a whole a little bit more? How can we make mental health services more accessible? How can we make life coaching more accessible and affordable? So that is it for today's video. I really appreciate all of the love on my recent videos. My channel is a small one, but it's growing slowly but surely, and I appreciate you guys so much for commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. So yeah, with that being said, comment below. Let me know how you feel about this life coaching epidemic and maybe any suggestions that you have for future videos. In the meantime, you can catch me on Instagram, and I will see you next time.
Why did all the real ones go? Why is my night so slow? Ink seeping in my skin, hoping it could heal my soul. No, I gotta get my own. Swear we on different roads. I'm burning a fucking bridge, cause I ain't gon' pay no toll. Money can't kill my pain, but